Too much
Too
media.
much
Have
media.
fun.
Tune in
Much
to Welcome to
media.
Too Much
Done saying I'm
Media.
done playing. Last time I was on the outro.
Hello? Okay. So the question is, can you fulfill your creative endeavors fat? And in my personal opinion, no. Whatever your pursuit is, especially depending on the level of height that pursuit is, you will never be able to complete it unless you get your health goals in order. Now, I know this sounds like it's probably wrong because there's a lot of fat successful people. Like, it's not like it's unheard of for someone to be fat and successful, just like it's not unheard of for someone to be successful and super self-aware about their health and fitness. But one thing I would say though is a lot of the times I feel like the people who are successful and fat usually become fat after their success. Like if you see them on their come up or if you see them like when they're working to get there, they're usually like a fair size or skinny and then they start making money and then they start eating. So it's like you could say that you can get successful and be fat, but even that, most likely as a man. Not to say no woman can do it either, because they're successful fat women, but that number is even less than the successful fat men. Like the likelihood of you becoming successful and being a fat woman is even lower than if you're a man. If you're a man, your chances are way higher just because no one really cares what men look like. And also, I feel like just because also men kind of have like a working spirit that doesn't really, that they don't really let weight affect them. You know what I'm trying to say? Like women are more moody. Like if you say one thing to a woman about her weight, that can affect her whole day in a way where if she's on a creative journey, she'll stop doing it because she's upset about how someone is speaking about her weight. Like think about how all these social media girls, for example, will be online and then they gain weight and disappear because the comment section's cutting them up or because they just don't feel secure enough right now to be on camera. So they're like waiting to lose weight to come back or all types of things. If a man who's on social media gains weight, I don't feel like he's gonna let the comment sections stop him from posting. Look at Phantom. Phantom used to be skinny. And then they started making hella money and he got big because, I don't know, based off what I'm watching, I feel like he just never seen food in his life. Like probably his mom couldn't afford to get him the food he wants. So now he's kind of obsessed with food. So he's always eating. But look, he gets bigger and bigger every time we see him. And he never stops coming on camera. He never stops looking trim. He never doesn't get a haircut because he's upset about his weight. He never, like, I don't think I've ever seen his hair undone. Like, he always looks crisp, no matter how big he gets. And he always stays on camera, no matter what he's eating. And no matter how big he's getting. Like, there's no shame to him about his weight. And I think that women associate weight with shame more than men do. Like, when men get big, they don't find it to be shameful. They just find it to be like, I'm big right now, but if I want to lose weight, I'll just lose weight. Like, literally, a man decides to lose weight, blinks, and is gone. But before he decides to lose weight, he just is big. He doesn't care. He just is walking around eating anything. Like, But like when a woman starts getting big, she's usually shameful about the fact that she's getting big. So she keeps getting bigger because now she has a negative association with food every time she eats. But then because of that shamefulness she feels because she ate, she eats more. So it just becomes like this repetitive pattern, And I do also feel like hormones have to do with it as well. Like as far as when we're talking about like, women, like being a woman is really hard because I don't think anyone talks about this as often as they should, but like the hormonal changes you go through as a woman is very intense. Like every month you have, your cycle. So that's something that affects your hormones. But then as you age as well, that also changes it too. So it's like you're going through like kind of like, and the seasons change your hormones too. So you're going through like a lot of different layers of hormonal changes because you're going through like a monthly hormonal change that is happening to you for like the next, I don't know, like what, 60, 65 years of your life? 70 maybe? And then you're also going through the fact that like as a human, like seasonally, you're going to go through a hormonal change. And you're on top of that going through like, age-wise, like your own personal hormonal changes based off your age. So it's like because of all those impacts that you're already going through separate to your weight has an even bigger effect on you, I believe, than men because it's like your weight also changes your hormones. So it's like if you're already struggling to keep a balance of all that at a regular weight, at a higher weight, when you're mixing in your hormones with also trying to lose weight or understand your weight and stuff, it's really, really difficult and it's really, really hard to keep pursuing things that you want / probably need, And, this channel is for craftsmen and women, craftswomen and men and creatives as a whole. So it's like, I do feel like as I've continued on my own personal creative journey, I've realized that weight has a huge effect on my effectiveness as my own personal boss, Because when that's the path you decide to take, you're your own boss. No one can really tell you what to do because everything depends on your own personal taste and your own personal work ethic. So why I say it's very difficult / you probably are not going to get to your goals if you're fat is because one, it's really hard to get up every day when you weigh more than you should. Like even just lifting yourself out of the bed is more difficult with a difference of like 10 pounds. I promise you, like lose or gain 10 pounds. And before and after, keep track of what it's like for you to get out of bed. I promise you, the way you hop out of bed 10 pounds lighter than you do 10 pounds heavier is insanely different. Like, the lighter I am, sometimes it feels like I levitate out of my bed. Like, the minute my eyes open, I just get up. Like, I don't think twice. I don't need an extra second to lay there. I don't like snuggle in closer and slowly open my eyes. I'm telling you, my eyes blink open quickly, and then I just stand up immediately, make my bed, go to brush my teeth, do whatever it is that day that's happening. So it's like, and I'm telling you this is in a difference of 10 pounds. I'm giving you a very small number so that you can understand just how vastly different the weight on versus off of you is. Like, imagine now you're at a place in your life where it's like 60 pounds, 50 pounds, 40 pounds, like that you are trying to lose or something like that. Like, do you know how much time you would increase in your day if you were able to get up quicker with 40 pounds less on you or 50 pounds less on you? Because the thing is, this is a time game too, being creative and being a craftsman. You only have till the end of your life, and you don't know when that's gonna hit. So every second that you're alive kind of is a second you need to keep making things in order to get to whatever it is you're really here to make. So those small hours that you think are not a big deal in the morning that you're spending laying in bed as you slowly kind of release yourself from hibernation because you couldn't get out of bed are vital to your creative process. That's like that Kobe mentality of like the difference of him practicing like 3 times a day versus he knows all the superstars who just came in, first round pick and all that, are just gonna practice at practice and then go home. So he's like, even if they're better fit for the sport than me, even if they're taller than me, even if they're bigger, stronger, faster than me, they don't practice as often as I do, and therefore they'll never be able to catch me in skill after a while. Because even though technically speaking, if we just put our physical attributes against each other, I should never be able to win. But just because I did this, now I'll never be able to lose, you know? And when I think of the creative process and journey, I think of it like that because at the end of the day, there's gonna be probably other people who have a better vision than you maybe of a creative idea, or who are better at coming up with ideas quicker, or who are better at the craft itself. Like, what should be today's creative analogy of a type of person? We're gonna say guitarist. Okay, let's say you're a guitarist, right? That's your creative passion, and your goal, lifelong, is to hit that Jimi Hendrix stage of guitarist, like that level of notoriety that we all give to Jimi Hendrix, that opportunity to play on a big stage and play with a message. Let's say that's your endeavor. There's probably guitarists out there who've been playing guitar longer than you, or who are like just more naturally inclined to hear what do guitarists call that, riffs? Like, they can just hear riffs in their heads and like come up with new stuff consistently, like without even knowing how they did it. They just breathe and it comes out. Like, their ability to play guitar is almost like breathing to them. They just woke up one day and could play guitar really well. Like, I feel like some people have that talent where certain things you give them and they don't even know why they're so good at it or why they learned it so quickly. They just can. And even though this is your endeavor, it doesn't come easy for you. Like, for you have to practice guitar a lot. Like, for you, it takes a really long and slow time for you to like kind of mess with the guitar for a long enough time to hear the riff that you're trying to make. Like, you're trying to, no, that's not it. Like, you have to do that continuously until you can finally hear what you heard in your head on the guitar and it actually sounds good. Okay? Do you think that if there's people out there that exist where they can just breathe and wake up and know how to play guitar, that you're going to be the one they pick to hit the Jimi Hendrix-like opportunity if you don't have those extra few ups on the people who are naturally inclined by extra time on the guitar? There's no way you're going to beat someone who's naturally better than you if you don't beat them with time. If you can't beat them with consistency and effort and time, you're never going to beat them with natural ability, because there's always going to be someone who's naturally better than you at things, like in a more instinctual way, So you have to be the type of person who's so focused on the skillful part of your craft and your creativity that instinct and natural ability is void around someone like you, because the hours put in are so extensive that no level of natural ability can get you to this level without time. Once you hit that stage is when you'll really start to see your pursuits reach another level, okay? So back to the fat issue, it's like those extra hours that you're spending in bed in the morning because you can't seem to get up are going to be vital to you making it to you being able to do what you're trying to do in the short amount of time that we call life, okay? So that's one thing I would say is hard about being fat. It's like, it's so hard to get up. It's harder to get up in the morning. Like, that little bit of time is actually vital. Another thing I would say about being fat is mentally, you're less clear. You don't realize it right now if you're listening to this and you're fat, but your brain is moving way slower because of your weight. So like, a lot of things, something that people often try to throw at fat people is, oh, it's unhealthy. You can never be healthy if you're fat. And like, fat people will have the argument back of, oh, but like some fat people are even healthier than skinny people. Like, not all skinny people are healthy. And sure, right? Like, because a lot of skinny people are very unhealthy too. They have their own problems they need to figure out. And you as a fat person could also still be fairly healthy. You could be fat and still work out and eat fairly healthy and stuff like that. But I will say, when you're lighter, your brain works quicker. The ability for you to think of stuff is quicker. The ability for you to like not as quickly bring yourself down mentally is higher as well, because I feel like that's a natural human like issue we all go through of like, bringing yourself down. I don't think there's a size that is, compatible with not being a downer on yourself. I think even if you're skinny or let's say you're fit, like you're in shape, like you're still gonna put yourself down about some stuff. Like you're still gonna have some insecurities, you're still gonna have some problems. So it never actually completely goes away 100%. But it's like, I feel as though your brain chemistry as a bigger human being is more likely to pull you to that state of insecurity and putting yourself down and, not trusting in your concepts and ideas as much, because that's kind of all we are as creatives. We're our concepts and our ideas. We're just like walking balls of concepts and ideas until we bring them into fruition. So if you're holding on to a fat brain, your likelihood of dismissing yourself when you come up with a concept or idea is higher than you in a smaller body. Because one thing I will say, when I speak of fat, I speak subjectively, because there's plenty of thin people in America that, if, for example, go overseas, are considered big. Like, I'm not saying they're get there too and they're like, oh my God, you're huge. But I'm just saying that whereas they would be considered one of the smaller people here, when they get there, they're like medium to big. They're just like, you're not small, but you're not a giant either. Like, we're not gonna say anything rude to you, but we definitely don't think of you as small. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's subjective. Like, if you're in Texas right now, you might not think you're fat, and no one might make you feel fat. But if you move to like the East Coast, people might think you're fat, bro. People might call you fat. And you might start to feel fat. Like, in comparison with everybody here, you're gonna probably feel big, regardless of whatever. Like, so it is very subjective. Or it might be versus your family. Like, everyone in your family is like super fast metabolism, super extra thin. So like when you leave your house, you don't feel big. As soon as you get home, everybody's clowning you. Do you see? So it's quite subjective, When I say fat, I'm just saying if you personally feel fat in your mind and in your own, life path. So don't base your weight off other people's perception or perspective of fat. Base it off what is your own, personal likingness of fat. Like, because sometimes a little extra fat on you kind of looks good, especially if you're a woman. You're not always trying to lose every single ounce of fat. Like, you kind of want to keep a little something left to grab. Like, it's not always your goal to be as thin as what the people around you think of as fit or thin. So I would say first about it is fat, when I speak of it, while I was speaking of subjectivity, is a mentality to me, not a physical state. Like, I don't see someone who's bigger than me and think of them as fat. I think of fat a lot of the times more as a mental state. Some people have fat mentality, okay? That is in existence. That's a term I just came up with, fat mentality. I feel like I could edit that. Like, I could make it sound even better than just fat mentality. Fatphobia. Fat polar. Like bipolar? I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But all I'm trying to say is, a lot of times it's a mental state, Like, you think of yourself as fat before anyone even says anything about your weight. You think of yourself as unworthy before anyone else thinks of you as unworthy. You think of yourself as the person who needs to eat the extra food that's left over because you're the one who got to do it for everybody, because no one else could take one for the team like you. Like, you think of yourself as this person, and so you start to embody this person and exist in a state of a fat person until you become a fat person. If you are at home and trying to lose weight, like, I'm never going to be the person to give you any tips and tricks for how to lose weight. I'm not going to tell you like, oh, this one I did, or like, you just got to, because there's so many people who do that who are way better educated about health. And also because most times when people ask you about weight loss advice or like fitness advice, they're just lying to themselves and to you and trying to waste your breath. Like, don't give people fitness advice. Don't give people weight loss advice. It's such a waste of time. Like, you're gonna sit there and talk in circles. They're gonna sit there and act like they know about the things you're talking about. They're gonna sit there and act like they're gonna take your advice. They're gonna, like, it's just so freaking, and also honestly, they just want to sound good. Like, all of that. Like, don't give people advice when it comes to losing weight or fitness options, like, unless they sound like their vocabulary or the question is in a way where you guys are like mutually benefiting. Like, if you feel like the person can mutually benefit you when you're talking about health and fitness, then go ahead and talk to them. But it can't be a one-way thing where you're trying to give someone fitness or health advice, because you're honestly just gonna waste your breath. I promise you, they're not gonna do it. They're not gonna take it, and they honestly just want to kind of prod and prune at like what you're up to. Like, they don't actually care enough to like take the advice. They just want to know. So then later, like, if they're wondering, if they're feeling bad about themselves, they know that you did this, and it's only because they're unwilling to do that they're not losing weight. Like, that's really the real reason they want to know. Like, they don't really actually care. So they're like, oh yeah, she do Ozempic, so that's why she lost weight. I'm a natural person. Or, oh yeah, she got a BBL, that's why she lost weight. I wasn't willing to pay and go under the table. Like, they're always just trying to figure out what you did so that they could say that the only reason they haven't lost weight is because you did something crazy. And y'all, like, they're just trying to most likely compare themselves to you. So if you go get a BBL, just shut up. If the way you do it is Ozempic, just shut up. If you're in the gym every day, just shut up. If you, like, whatever it is you're up to, just shut up, because it's not really, you're not helping anybody. You're not the fitness person you thought you were. I mean, unless, as we said, this is a creative channel, so like, if that's really super your creative pursuit, whatever. But yeah, like, I'm not the person who's gonna give you that type of advice. So there are people out there who care enough to do that. But me personally, I would tell you, is the mental state of a fat person you need to first get rid of. Like, no amount of Ozempic and BBLs are gonna save you, or gym is gonna save you, if you still have the brain configurations of a fat person. You got to get rid of that because that's really going to stop you from getting through your creative path. That's what I would say, that you can't be fat and get to your goals. You can't be fat and do what you're supposed to do because you're mentally, like the mentality of a fat person is not conducive of success. Most times when we think of weight gain, we associate it with depression, with, hibernation. We associate it with like greed. We associate it with selfishness. We associate it with gluttony. Like we associate a lot of negative things with fatness. So if you're in a place of fat mentality, you can't succeed because every time you come up with something, you're gonna execute it with the mentality of a fat person. You're gonna execute it with that negative spirit on top of it, And what you'll notice is if you remove fat mentality, and I'm not saying you switch to skinny mentality, because skinny mentality sometimes has its own negative impacts on your work. Any mentality you push yourself towards as a creative is gonna come out in the work you do. Like it's gonna show itself in what you make, So I'm not saying switch over to skinny mentality. I mean, do so if you'd like to. But just to let you know though, skinny mentality is a mentality as well. Just like there's fat mentality, there's skinny mentality. So I would say if you do need to, in order to get out of fat mentality, have to go to skinny mentality, just so you could understand both extremes and then find your own balance in the middle. You can also do that, like if that's your method, like, each person to their own creative method, but like you can add creativity into every aspect of your life, including weight. So like if you add a creative aspect to your weight loss, it might help you sustain it for longer, So I'm just saying though, if you remove yourself from fat mentality, your physical form will slowly start to replicate your mentality. I think a lot of people end up stuck with the details of how to lose weight that they never are able to accomplish it. They are always one step behind real long-term and effective weight loss. And that if they switch their mentality before they switch their physical real world, habits, they will be more likely to sustain their weight loss. Because in their head, since they don't think of themselves as the person who gotta take one for the team and eat the rest of the food, or they don't think of themselves as the person who, I gotta have my fries with the or I gotta, a lot of the times when you're in fat mentality, there's certain things you think you have to have. And I'm not only talking about food, I'm talking about comfort as well. Because another thing that when you're fat, a lot of the times, you are constantly looking for comfort. So it's like, oh no, I'm not wearing that. Me, I need this to hit here and this has to go. Like it's in kind of everything you do, of you telling yourself you have to do things in a certain way. So the fat mentality is seeping into other parts of your life, which is why you're probably not seeing advancement and success of your creative pursuits as well. That's why I'm trying to tell you, if you're fat, you're not gonna be able to do it, because if you haven't been able to and you're still struggling to figure out what is that blockade that is like stopping you from getting to that next level of your creative pursuit, it might be the weight thing that is seeping into your creativity that you're not even realizing is what's affecting it, that you're not even realizing is pushing you to not maybe even advocate for yourself creatively as much as you would if you weren't at the size you were or in the mentality that you're in. Because I noticed that a lot of times people with fat mentality, they kind of either have two extremes where they're super quick to advocate for themselves and always are like, oh, she's trying to do that because I'm fat. She thinks that I don't care because I'm fat. Like every small thing that happens to them, they think is in correlation to their size and people treating them away because of their size. So they're super quick to advocate for themselves, super quick to speak out, super quick to give the I don't give a fuck mentality. And then the second version of fat mentality is the really quiet, really demure, really silence of the lambs personality, where you never advocate for yourself. You're always scared to take up space or to say something at a time where you think people don't want you to talk. Because what if I speak and then someone makes fun of my weight? Or what if I, stand up for myself, and they got that on me already? That's a quick comeback. Or I just don't want to be, noticed because of my weight. Or I just, they end up adding more insecurities on top of the weight in every single thing they do, but they never speak up for themselves. So both of those fat mentalities will ruin your creative success, because if you're always in people's face about your weight and yelling at people about every small thing that ever happens to you because you think people are always attacking you and you think that people don't respect you and things like that, no one's gonna like you. So you can go and search for all the respect that you want, but they're not gonna like you. They're just gonna be like, oh my God, this irritating person again. You just sound very annoying and naggy when you're always thinking everyone's after you about a certain thing. And regardless of what that is, if it's weight and you're always talking about it, you're annoying and we don't like you. If you're short and you're always talking about it, you're annoying. We don't like that. All of these, whatever little insecurity you have, if you're constantly in people's face about it, or trying to prove to people that they're not gonna play you about it, you end up having a very unlikable spirit because of it. So that is not gonna be good for someone who's trying to go after creative field and be successful at it, because a part of it is kind of being likable. Of course it's talent too. Once you get past a certain level of talent, no one cares how nice you are. They're like, oh, they're too good not to accept their attitude or whatever it is, But before you get to that stage where everyone has recognized you for your talent, you do need to be likable, because you haven't been recognized yet. So that's going to stop you. And that might be what the blockade is that you feel that you're sensing, and why your creative journey isn't getting to where you want it to go. On the other side of it, of being super insecure and never speaking up for yourself and just letting people play you and letting people do shit to you, type of fat mentality, as a creative, one of your biggest roles and jobs for yourself is speaking up for yourself and making sure that your work is seen. Because if no one sees it, then you spent all this time. I mean, honestly, sometimes you make stuff just for yourself, but I'm just saying that if you're pursuing success or you have a specific goal within it, your biggest help to getting to that goal is going to be you saying no to certain people, saying how you want things done, saying when you want things done, being strict about how your life looks, making sure that when people take your work, they're treating it the way you say it needs to be treated. That ability to speak for your work is going to be very important for you to reach those goals and that success. And that might be your version of fat mentality that is blocking you from getting where you're trying to go. You know, and honestly, now that I think about it, I feel like you can have that mentality and be skinny too. Like, I feel like you can be skinny and have that mentality because sometimes you lost the weight, you did all the physical things correctly, or, you know, somehow, some way, like you're just not big, but like in your head, you think of yourself as it, or in your head, you know, you don't respect yourself enough, or in your head, you don't have the level of discipline. Because that was the other thing I was going to bring up about that mentality, that, and why being fat, you're never going to get to your goals, is because certain goals require such a high level of dedication and discipline. Like back to the like guitarist who's trying to get to like a Jimi Hendrix-esque legacy. It's going to take a lot of discipline, a lot of saying no to people inviting you places, a lot of saying no when people ask you why you don't have free time, a lot of saying, like, you have to say no so often when you're trying to be disciplined at your craft. And so if you can't express that ability in like other aspects of your life, for example, food, if you can't express the level of discipline it takes to be like, no, I'm not going to eat that. No, it's too late right now to eat. No, I need this amount, that's too much. Or, you know, if you don't have that level of discipline to know what your eating pattern should look like, how are you gonna, it's just another way of showing yourself the level of discipline that you need in your craft in other aspects of your life. Like how you do small things is how you do big things. So if you can't do the small things correctly / manage your health, then you're never gonna be able to do the big things correctly / manage a whole business of people who are helping you pursue your endeavors. Like, you know, the more you increase the quality of your craft, the more people you have to bring on board to help expand it. So if you can't even show your own self that level of discipline and like cutthroatness, how do you expect the people around you to be able to take you seriously? You know, like how do you expect the people around you to be able to, for you to have the level of discipline it takes to keep track of the people around you? And you know, food might not be your vice. I'm just speaking for the people whose vice is food. Like creatively, it's harming you. It's making it harder. I promise. If you've been wondering and you're like, damn, like I know I'm colder than these folk. Why is no one taking me seriously? And low-key in the back of your brain, you've been thinking, what if it's that? It probably is. And even if it isn't, it doesn't hurt to try to fix it and then reevaluate if that is actually the issue, because it could help you figure out what the real issue is. Like if weight isn't what your real problem is that is blocking your creative path, it can help you figure out what is. Like that, like I told you, like how you think better when you're at a lighter weight, that mental clarity that you give yourself from getting your health correct might let you know what the real creative problem is. Because I do feel like I come up with the best ideas when my blood pumps, you know, up some. And the thing is, the bigger you are, the more oxygen your heart has to produce for the blood in your veins to travel throughout your body. So you have more surface area, your heart needs to make more oxygen. And then if your heart is making more oxygen because you have more surface area that it has to hit for the blood, and then that same blood that is thin on oxygen because your heart can only pump so much to give it all the oxygen for all this extra surface area, that same blood with low levels of oxygen is going to your brain. How leveled up do you think your thinking would be if all that extra oxygen that your heart was using to pump to all this excess fat in your body was now all being used in your brain? All that extra oxygen, all that extra heart pumping blood power that you're getting. Your ideas are going to be crisper. Your ideas are going to be quicker. Your ideas are going to be like, me personally, like when I have certain like creative things to do, I won't eat until after I'm done. And that's not because I'm so locked in I can't eat right now or anything like that. It's because I get scared that after I eat, I won't want to do it. And because it's true. It doesn't matter how light my meal is. I could eat a salad. After that salad, I'm ready for a nap. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's just a natural human thing. They do say it's like itis, like on some like you just overate a bit. So that's why you're like kind of sluggish. But even if I don't overeat, like I just eat a like kind of perfect amount, I still am kind of lazy afterwards. Like, and even if the meal is super, super light and super, super healthy, like I'm still kind of over everything afterwards. Like after I eat, I'm like on some like, let's just cool it for the rest of the day. I mean, I might get back to it. Like I might be able to come back with energy again later, but like at least for the next couple hours or so, it's kind of like remove yourself from my existence. Like I'm not really trying to do anything other than digest. Like I remember when I was little and my mom would be like, hey, like after I eat dinner, she'll be like, hey, like come do this, get up. Are you still sitting there? Like, cause I've been done, I'm just sitting there. She's like, why are you just sitting there? Come, I need you to do this. You also need to go get that done, this, that. I'll be like, like please, like I'm trying to digest. Like give me a second. She's like, get up. Like I'm tired of you. And it's like that stuff never went away. Like I always feel like that. Like after I eat, like please don't talk to me. Like that's why too. Like if I'm at work, I don't eat until I leave work. Like, and that's been like all my jobs. That's how I am. Like I don't eat until after work because I know if I eat at work, I'm gonna be annoyed for the rest of this like time that I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be really frustrated. I'm gonna be like over everybody. Like my attitude is not gonna be as pleasurable. Like I'm just not as, and the quality of my work is also gonna go down because I'm just over it. Like I want to leave. Like I want to take a nap. Like I want to just go sit in the car for a little bit and not have people's voices in my ears. So usually what I'll do is I'll eat when I leave, because then I know that when I eat, I can just chill afterwards. Like I like a moment where I can eat and then relax. Like I don't like to eat and then have to do things. Like no. Like if I know, for example, like, oh, I'm about to get home so hungry, and then when I get home, there's something that has to be done in the house, I'm gonna go do that thing in the house first, and then I'm gonna eat, because I know after I eat, I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna go lay down. Like I promise, I'm gonna go lay down. Like I'm gonna watch TV. I'm gonna read. Like I'm gonna do something that requires little to no movement. So yeah, like if you're fat and you're trying to get somewhere with it, and you're trying to do something with your life, stop being fat, bro. Like I'm telling you, it's not gonna help. You might still be healthier than the skinny people. It's true, but mentally, you're less than the version of yourself that's skinny. Like you're mentally less fit than the version of yourself that's skinny, even if physically you feel fine and you can breathe good and you can move fine and you're not always out of breath. And maybe you don't have so many problems from weight, but I promise you, you're not mentally as vivid as you could be, and you're not as disciplined with your craft as you could be. And it might be the difference between you being considered a Jimi Hendrix or Guitar Hero.